Probably not. I probably shouldn't even share my story with you, but I just can't keep it to myself. It was a long, long weekend, I'll tell you. We've been in Jerusalem with many, many thousands of our people. We gathered to celebrate the Passover. It was a celebration, God's redemption, how he had called our people out of Egypt. After over 400 years of slavery, God finally sent a Redeemer, our man, Moses. God delivered the law to Moses. God used Moses. There was no one ever before, or in our mind, ever since, who could be more powerful than Moses. My friend Cleopas and I, we gathered together with our people. We had the Passover lamb. We celebrated God's deliverance. But it was an empty weekend for us. We left Jerusalem broken, desperate, filled with sorrow and despair. And we began our 7-mile journey back towards the hot springs. You know the town of Emmaus. And as we walked, we discussed all of our hopes, all of our dreams. The promise, such promise for redemption in the man Jesus. He was a prophet. Let me tell you, he taught as one with authority. He wasn't like the religious leaders around us. There was, so it seemed, something special about him. And as we walked, Cleopas and I, and as we talked, suddenly, out of nowhere, uninvited, a stranger began to walk alongside us. And as we walked, he says, plainly, what are the things you're discussing? And Cleopas and I, we just stopped in our tracks, and suddenly the despair enshrouded us. It just became more real. And again, he says, what are you two debating? And Cleopas, he begins to say, what, are you the only alien sojourner visitor? What do you mean, what are we discussing? What else is there to discuss? There's nothing more important to be thinking about or to be talking about. Then we began to tell about Jesus. Would you believe it? A carpenter who's a preacher. He was mighty in works and the miracles that he performed. Raised people from the dead. Gave sight to the blind. Cast out mother-in-laws and demons alike. But it was a very violent weekend. And we told this stranger among us, all of Israel had hoped and put our faith in this man, Jesus. But our religious leaders delivered him over to the Romans, and in violence and in shame and humiliation, they beat him and they crucified him. And he died. You know, the strange thing was, earlier in that day, some of the women who were among us had said that they visited the tomb, but it was empty. Empty as our hopes were. It was barren, as dark as our hearts felt. And angels allegedly had told them, he's alive and not here. And at that moment, the stranger walking among us, can you believe it? He said, you are faithless, you're unbelieving, you're dull, dimwits. Did you not listen to Jesus the whole time he preached? That he foretold. That the prophets had foretold. That the Psalms had foretold. That all of the scriptures had foretold that the Messiah must come must suffer, must be delivered over. And at that moment, the stranger then began to open the prophecies, the scriptures, and explain them like we had never heard before. He went back into the books of Moses, all the way back to the beginning, to where when Adam and Eve were being kicked out of the garden, God told Eve that your seed, his heel would be bruised, and his heel would bruise the head of the serpent. In Moses' second giving of the law, his farewell speech, he said, God will raise up a prophet from amongst your own people, and to him you must listen. And then, of course, the psalmist, our favorite. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Oh, he opened up so many more scriptures, and he began to explain them. And he talked about how Isaiah had said there would be a maiden, a virgin, who would bring a child into this world. This child, the government would rest upon his shoulders. He would be called Mighty Counselor, Mighty God. And of course, Isaiah goes on to say that as a lamb led before its slaughter, so he was silent. So the Messiah would be silent. And by his stripes we would be healed. Well, as we walked, it was getting dark. And the man, he began to choose a different path. But we pleaded with him. We begged with him. No. It's getting near dark. Come with us and share a meal with us. Enjoy our hospitality. He acted like he'd keep going. But we finally, after a while, persuaded him. And so he came to the house with us. As we began to sit around the table, he did something very surprising. He took the seat at the head of the table. Our humble meal he took, and as he began to break the bread and bless the bread, suddenly, would you believe it? We recognized the man. It was none other than Jesus himself. And instantly, he vanished from our sight. Cleopas and I began to talk. How could we not have... How could this have all happened and we didn't recognize? Did our hearts not burn within us as he opened the scriptures to us as they had never been opened before? But by then it was dark. What could we do? But we knew what we had to do. We were so overwhelmed with joy. We had to go back to Jerusalem. 7 miles in the dark. We had to get back to the 11. We had to share the joyous news with them. We didn't expect them to believe us. But when we got there, would you believe it? They did. And we began to share with them our journey to Emmaus. We began to share the conversation. We began to share how he had opened the scriptures, how our hearts had burned within as he opened and interpreted and explained all of our scriptures. And while we recounted all of our day, suddenly, would you believe it? Jesus showed up again. And he began to encourage us. He began to share with us. And then, most were doubtful. I'll never forget. It was at that point he showed us where the nails had gone in. Not a ghost, it's me. Jesus of Nazareth, who you know. Still something to believe. It's got to be a ghost in Appalachians. He said he was hungry. Do you have nothing to eat here? Someone had some broiled fish. We gave it to him and he ate. give us some more encouragement, and then you probably won't believe it. And at that point, he vanished again. Cleopas and I, as we shared that journey to Emmaus, and spent that time with the risen Savior, we had to rush back to Jerusalem. May you also rush back to those who need to hear of the risen Savior and share that joyful message with them as well.